So in this segment, we're going to be talking about some tweets from Christopher Hope, who says a new battle of Brexit. Effectively, he's talking about the government forcing through the Northern Ireland Protocol changes through the Lords. So the new battle of Brexit, MPs against unelected peers. The early prize for Boris Johnson will be to deliver Brexit once and for all by early 2024, even though he got Brexit done back in 2020, arguably 2019. So, Christopher Hope writes for The Telegraph, so for some people there is no hope, even people like him. Brexiteers fully expect the government to use the Parliament Act to force the Lords to accept the three Brexit bills, the Northern Ireland Protocol changes, Bill of Rights and Brexit freedoms for the first time in nearly 20 years. So effectively, the House of Commons has supremacy over the House of Lords. The Parliament Act was passed around, I think, 1911, and basically the issue they had, it was Lloyd George who had an issue with the House of Lords blocking the reforms he was trying to make. I think it was to do with taxes. And so effectively what happened was, I think the monarch got involved, and the argument was either the House of Lords changes or the House of Lords is massively expanded with loads of I think it was the Liberal Party at the time, pro-Liberal Lords, to the point where, the House of Lords' power would be greatly diminished and they'd have a load more Lords there, which would diminish the title of Lord back then. And so the House of Commons since then has supremacy. That would be the Parliament Act, which gives the House of Commons supremacy. So effectively they can force through the bills. The bills need to have their second reading in the Commons 18 months before the end of the parliamentary session, so they can begin in law by early 2024, said Sir Bill Cash. Is going to be the battle of Brexit. We've got a majority in the House of Lords, and the House of Lords can't stand in our way. The House of Lords can try and delay things and block things, but there's not a lot they can do, especially given that the government are willing to force it through using the Parliament Act, which hasn't been used in 20 years, and we have seen the government lose kind of votes in the House of Lords before, but they've never gone this far to kind of push a bill through. And if you go to this kind of graphic about how bills are passed, so you have the first reading, so it goes back and forth between the Lords and the Commons. So you got the first reading in the Commons, then it will go through to the first reading for the Lords. It will go like that from 1 to 2. Second reading, it will go through committee stages in both houses, report stage in both houses. And then you have the third reading. The Lords can try and block it at the reading stages, but at the same time, the government can force this thing through if they want to. That's how it's going to work, and so effectively, that's what the plan is. So yeah, it's at the second reading phase now, I believe, but the Lords can block it effectively. They can delay it, but they can't force it. To not be passed effectively, even though it's not a manifesto pledge, because the House of Commons always has that big weapon at hand, the Parliament Act. That's a key problem. The Parliament Act effectively stops the Lords from blocking anything. They can delay things, they can, reject things, but then the Commons can try and force it back. Because otherwise you could have the Lords block, House of Lords reforms, etc. And there's a reason why, the House of Lords don't get too involved in this stuff. But this wasn't a manifesto pledge. Ironically, the manifesto pledge was the protocol. But anyways, I hope you kind of get what I'm saying here, which is the Lords can try and delay things, but they can't fully stop this thing passing. At the end of the day, they are an unelected house, and for them to have that much power would be anti-democratic in a sense, even though in this case and in other cases they've actually been right, which is really painful. But look, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.